The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is brought to you by Clinica Sierra Vista.
Welcome back to the 17 News at Sunrise podcast, where we share your news on your schedule.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise.
All right, good morning here at 5 a.m. Thanks for waking up with us. I'm Maddie Jansen alongside Alex Fisher. We begin this morning with the latest on the COVID-19 pandemic in Kern County and another update showing new cases continue to decline. 707 new cases were reported yesterday. That's a significant decrease compared to daily new cases reported last week, although the virus is still spreading at a rapid rate and is still proving deadly. 8 new deaths were also reported yesterday. State data shows 233 people hospitalized with the virus in Kern. 43 more are in the ICU.
Local public health officials provided the County Board of Supervisors with a coronavirus update yesterday. And for the first time in quite some time, they had some positive news to report.
I'm happy to bring your board good news this morning, as it appears our cases and hospitalizations have peaked from this fourth surge, and we are in the downward trend of disease transmission rates.
That was Kern County Health Director Bryn Kerrigan, and she says predictive models of our recent surge had cases peaking January 26th with 337 COVID patients in local hospitals. Those models were almost exactly on point, with Kerrigan saying our actual peak was January 25th with 331 patients. Public health data shows 90% of hospitalizations were people who were unvaccinated, and 93% of deaths were those who were unvaccinated.
5:03 is your time now. 17 News is your local election headquarters. We are less than 2 months into the year, and it's already been extremely busy when it comes to the upcoming midterm elections here in Kern.
17's Maddie Gannon joins us live this morning from the Kern County Elections Office with an update. Maddie, good morning.
Alex, good morning. Many of the upcoming races here in Kern are already packed, but over the next few weeks, those considering a run will face a number of deadlines they must meet in order to officially become a candidate. That first deadline comes today at 5 p.m. It allows the candidates to bypass paying the fee that is required to run for office if they get enough signatures from registered voters in the community. By the end of today, we could see some new people rushing to get those signatures in ahead of tonight's cutoff. But those considering a run still have time to put in their paperwork to declare themselves a candidate. The period to do that starts this coming Monday, the 14th, and ends by March 11th. Meantime, State Senator Brian Dawley has officially announced his run for California governor. The Republican is the first to try to challenge Governor Gavin Newsom for the office in 2022. He says he's ready to reach across the aisle to convince voters in the Democratic-dominated state. It's unclear how large the field will be this year, especially after Governor Newsom's big win in the recall election. Dawley yesterday likened his election to David and Goliath.
I am not some smooth-talking wine salesman from San Francisco. I am a farmer from Bieber. You might say I'm the underdog.
Dawley says the issues he'll be highlighting on the campaign trail include the cost of living, crime, and education. As we approach these deadlines in the next few weeks, we will have a much clearer picture of exactly who is in and out of these races. Live from the Kern County Election Office, Maddie Gannon, 17 News.
All right, Maddie, thanks so much. 5:05 is our time now, and county supervisors yesterday officially signed off on a package of new contracts with 9 cities that rely on fire protection services from the Kern County Fire Department. The new contracts will eventually bring in an additional $7 million a year to the fire department, helping to reduce its structural deficit, something we've reported extensively on. The contracts include significantly higher reimbursements for fire protection from the communities of Arvin, Delano, McFarland, Shafter, Wasco, Taft, Tehachapi, and Ridgecrest. An audit several years ago concluded those communities were paying less than 50% of the actual costs of rendering fire services.
These contracts are a step in the right direction. Our old methodology only allowed us to recover 48% of our costs for service. Our new contracts allow us to fully recoup all of our costs to the contract city. So additionally, the contract negotiations has actually brought our relationships with the contract cities and the fire department. We've become very close. Our communication's great. It's just been a blessing.
Of Kern County's 11 incorporated cities, Maricopa, with a population of just 1,200 people, is the smallest, with an annual general fund of just $300,000. Maricopa's current contract with County Fire will remain as is. County Administrative Officer Ryan Alsop described the fiscal situation in Maricopa as extraordinarily unique.
17 Crime Watch now. Bakersfield police are asking for the public's help finding a vehicle connected with a recent catalytic converter theft. The theft happened January 25th near Stein and Pacheco Roads in southwest Bakersfield. BPD says it's looking for this four-door Volkswagen Jetta. The driver's side rear tire is a different style than the other three. If you know where this vehicle is, you're asked to call police.
A Shafter police officer is recovering at home following a crash yesterday morning. It happened around 6:15 a.m. at the intersection of Zachary Avenue and Capitol Road. That's near the Target Distribution Center. The California Highway Patrol says Officer Roman Nunes was trying to overtake a vehicle at high speed on Zachary Avenue when another vehicle turned in front of the officer's patrol car at the intersection, causing the crash. Shafter police say the other driver involved was taken to the hospital. The speeding driver took off. CHP says Nunes did have his patrol lights on, but it is still unclear if his sirens were on as well.
Meantime, another Shafter officer still recovering following a crash last month. Officials say Officer Matthew Sanchez was outside his patrol vehicle when a driver rear-ended it. Foggy conditions are believed to have led to that crash. The GoFundMe account for Officer Sanchez has raised more than $10,000 of its $30,000 goal to help pay for his surgery and therapy. If you'd like to donate, you can find a link on our website, kget.com. Just click the hot link icon.
5:08 is our time now, and staff and students at McFarland High School are mourning the sudden death of their beloved basketball coach.
McFarland Superintendent Aaron Resendez tells 17 News Coach Fernando Alanis suffered a medical condition Monday afternoon during a preparation period and began coughing. Staff rushed to his aid and called 911. Sadly, the second-year boys varsity basketball coach died at the school.
This was, in every sense of the word, tragedy. This was a tragedy, a tremendous loss for our school community. Mr. Alanis was not just a beloved teacher, but also he was our varsity basketball coach.
5:33 is our time now. Let's take you live to Capitol Hill this morning. With one eye on Russian troops along the Ukraine border, President Biden turns his attention now to his domestic agenda. Today, the president meets with utility CEOs to discuss Build Back Better. NBC's Bree Jackson has more from Washington.
Good morning, Alex. President Biden is looking to juggle both efforts to de-escalate tensions with Russia and kickstart parts of his stalled agenda. That includes focusing on job creation as well as helping American families.
Did an awful lot to you.
President Biden putting his domestic agenda front and center by meeting with CEOs of electric utility companies to discuss his agenda.
The bottom line is the United States is in a position to outcompete the world once again.
On Tuesday, the administration highlighted efforts to boost manufacturing and strengthen the economy.
These jobs will multiply.
Top Republicans argue the administration's policies have caused inflation and hurt American families.
Yet another example of government overreach.
Moderate Democrats like Joe Manchin have put the brakes on parts of the president's agenda, calling Build Back Better dead. Administration officials tell me they're pressing ahead anyway.
What we're worried about is how this will lower costs for families. We're going to lower the cost of prescription drugs. We're going to lower the cost of goods and services.
Meanwhile, concerns about a Russian invasion continue. The French president expressing optimism after meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin Monday to help de-escalate the crisis, and Ukraine's president Tuesday. However, the Kremlin says no deals were made. Republicans want immediate sanctions or to target Russia's gas pipeline now.
The president has all the authority he needs. He needs to decide the timing. I think it's going to be a serious deterrent if it's executed before the invasion not after.
The commander-in-chief keeping a close eye on the crisis overseas while looking to move America forward. President Biden says he's willing to break down the massive Build Back Better Act into smaller pieces in order to get it through Congress, but says he will continue to fight for the entire package. In Washington, I'm Bree Jackson for 17 News.
And more developments from Washington this morning. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell denounced the Republican National Committee's description of the January 6th Capitol attack as legitimate public discourse.
We saw what happened. It was a violent insurrection for the purpose of trying to prevent the peaceful transfer of power after a legitimately certified election from one administration to the next. That's what it was.
McConnell also criticized the RNC's censure of the 2 Republicans on the committee investigating the insurrection. He says traditionally the RNC supports all members of the party, regardless of their positions on certain issues.
Meantime, a D.C. high school was evacuated yesterday during an appearance by Second Gentleman Doug Emhoff. Authorities say Emhoff was at Dunbar High School when the school received a threat. He was in the school's museum for about 5 minutes before a member of his security detail approached him and said, quote, "We have to go." Dunbar students and staff were also evacuated. Authorities in D.C. say they are still searching for the source of the bomb threat.
Overnight, crews battled a 5-alarm fire at an apartment complex in Oklahoma City. Take a look at this. Video shows flames pouring out of the building, which officials say was under construction. About 80 to 90 fire crews responded to the scene. Officials anticipate that one floor might be lost, but it's not clear how much damage the building sustained. The cause of the blaze is under investigation. The 326-room apartment complex was scheduled to open this spring.
Now to our ongoing coverage of the fentanyl crisis. A bipartisan report from a congressional commission says the primary driver of the opioid epidemic today is illicit fentanyl, which is a synthetic opioid that's up to 50 times more potent than heroin. The report from the commission on combating synthetic opioid trafficking was released yesterday. It found that Mexico is the principal source of fentanyl in the U.S., with smuggling across the southwestern U.S. border being the primary method of transport. Still, the report noted an increase in the use of America's domestic mail system to move fentanyl within the country. The commission made several recommendations for the U.S. to combat the flow of synthetic opioids.
The parents of a 1-year-old boy who overdosed on fentanyl last month told police they're addicted to the drug. According to police reports, John Lawson admitted he and Gabriella Goldberg smoked fentanyl on January 15th. Their son was later discovered unresponsive in their Kroll Way apartment. Lawson said the boy may have been exposed to fentanyl through a straw that was found near him. The boy was rushed to the hospital and treated for an opioid overdose. Thankfully, he survived. Lawson and Goldberg were arrested on suspicion of felony child endangerment, but have since posted bail. Prosecutors have sent the case back to police for further investigation.
There were more than 200 deaths from fentanyl in Kern County last year, according to District Attorney Cynthia Zimmer. For more on the fentanyl crisis, including 17's Robert Price's in-depth series called Fentanyl, the Counterfeit Killer, you can visit our website, kget.com/fentanyl. Welcome back. It is 5:41, and here's some good news for people who enjoy watching a little bit of TV before bed. A new study from the University of Delaware found that brief media use before bedtime is not likely going to impact sleep. The study examined 58 adults who kept a record, logging time spent with media before bed, location of use, and multitasking. EEGs that detect electrical activity of the brain then captured parameters like bedtime, total sleep time, and sleep quality. Researchers found that if media use occurred in bed and did not involve multitasking, it was associated with more total sleep time. So there's actually some benefits to a little bit of media time before.
So watching my TikTok before bed is totally fine.
See, that's where the line is for me.
Right.
I can watch like 20 minutes of TV before bed, and I do because my husband stays up a little later. If I get on my phone for 20 minutes, totally different story. The phone light wires my brain in a completely different way than like watching TV kind of passively.
Well, and they even say that, yeah, it's because it's right in front of your face. It is a brighter light. Your eyes are straining more because you're staring at something so close.
And it's doing something more different to your brain. I think social media use is different than passively watching like a sitcom.
They say that there's like a psychological aspect to it, right? Like you're being rewarded for liking posts and seeing, you know, it's almost like you're engaging with, you're still engaging, right? While you're on social media. Well, on TV, you can kind of just relax.
Literally, that is what I do if I'm like too tired, is I'll pull up my phone for a few minutes and like just stare. It wires your brain. It's weird how it does it. So yeah.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise.
The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is a production of KGET and Nexstar Media Group. For more on all of the headlines in today's show, head to kget.com.